Mike O'Mara, Radio Entertainment.
Hello, my name is Mike, and today's show is brought to you by our Amazon page. Please remember to shop at MikeO'MaraShow.com/Amazon. It's quite simply the best way to support this show. If you need it, Amazon has it, and you can get it at MikeO'MaraShow.com/Amazon. Bookmark it, please.
Available on demand every day in iTunes and the Google Play Store, and around the world on MikeO'MaraShow.com. What more can we do for you? It's the Mike O'Mara Show.
Even if you don't pay any attention to college basketball during the rest of the year, now that the NCAA tournament brackets are out, everyone is a fan and a problem gambler.
That's right.
Here are some stats about March Madness. We talked about it yesterday. Oscar and I will be wagering. Is it still $100?
$100, Mike.
All right. 10% of the U.S. population fills out a bracket for a pool. People around the world bet $12 billion on March Madness, including $2.5 billion legally.
Wow,
illegally,
that
rather.
makes your $100 make you seem kind of like a piker, Mike.
$12
billion.
This is the part that really it costs American businesses $1.9 billion in lost productivity, and the odds of filling out a perfect bracket. This is the most important statistic here, baby. The odds are 1 in 9.2 quintillion.
Oh man!
And how many times have you done that? Because I've done, I think, only twice.
I don't really care. I'm not a college basketball fan. This is where sports games I could give a rat's ass. But when it comes to degenerate gambling,
yes,
that's what I care about, and that's why I'm ready to do that. And we've got the brackets here right now. But before we do that, before we bore you with our brackets, let's bring in our very special guests. We have two political types. These are legitimate news people that I have no idea what kind of crack they were smoking when they made the decision to come into this studio, but I'll tell you, for the first time, maybe the second time, this is where building this studio in D.C., making it convenient to the power center of our nation's capital, really paid dividends, because we welcome, both from NBC, Vaughn Ververs and Chuck Todd, host of Meet the Press. Let me give you the proper bio information. Chuck is a noted French horn player, and Vaughn used to be on the old Mike O'Mara show. There we go.
Okay, key biographic points.
The most important detail.
The
only reason we said yes is, if it wasn't for your shows in the 90s, wasn't for Don and Mike, I don't know if Vaughn and I would have survived living in Washington. We hated living in Washington in the early 90s, other than your show.
Oh,
wow.
Well, I hated living in Washington up until about a year ago, and I got out. So that's why you're looking at me on a TV screen.
I promised
right
my wife, as soon as I figure out how to lose this job and Meet the Press, we're going west.
Before you were even on the radar, Chuck, I will tell you this. I said to Rob the other day, I personally love the new format and what you've done with Meet the Press. I think it's got tremendous new energy, and I salute you. There, that's the nicest thing I'm going to say to you all day.
Fair enough.
That's
I'll
the way
take
it's going
it.
to work there. And Vaughn, you've been slumming in this town for what, 35, 45 years now?
It seems like it, for at least 20. Chuck and I used to sweat more for less, and now we're just sweating, period.
Vaughn Ververs is the politics editor for NBCnews.com. You've been doing that since March of 2010, and everybody knows Chuck Todd as NBC's chief White House correspondent for a good long time. You used to host the Daily Rundown, and he became NBC's political director in March of 2007, and just a short time ago took over Meet the Press, and you're doing a great job with that. So now that we've done that, just shut up for a second, both of you, and we're going to get on to the brackets. Oscar, all right, I find really, and it's just me, I know a lot of people are fascinated by the brackets. I find them very, very boring, but the fact is that
after all, I'll give you that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Oscar was saying maybe I should, have Larry King come in and read the brackets, and I don't know whether it's possible. First round, Kentucky, Purdue. Just write these down, interns. West Virginia, Maryland, Butler, Notre Dame, Indiana, Kansas, Wisconsin, Oregon, Wofford, North Carolina, Xavier, Baylor, Ohio State, Arizona.
Hey, Larry, can we put that in the book?
Sure, put it in the book. I always notice that peanut butter tastes better on a bagel. Kentucky, Maryland, Butler, Kansas, Wisconsin, North Carolina, Xavier, Arizona, and now we go to the, what is it, the Sweet Eight, the nice
Elite
eight, what is
Larry.
it? The Elite, right? Sure.
The Sweet Eight.
Kentucky, Kansas, North Carolina, Arizona, and then my choice for this side of the bracket, the left side, Kentucky, Arizona, and Kentucky going to the championship. Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
got that, Larry.
Perfect.
All right, hold on. Right, so, you want Obama for the other side?
Sure. People come and go so quickly here.
Villanova, North Villanova, North Carolina. I want to go back to Larry. I want to do that impression.
Thanks for coming by, Mr. President.
Villanova, North Carolina State, UNI. Where's UNI? Where's UNI? Where do they live? I don't understand that one. UNI.
Any idea, Oscar?
No idea.
Okay.
University of Nevada, Indiana.
That must be it.
All right. So it's Villanova, North Carolina State, UNI, Louisville, Providence, Oklahoma, Michigan State, Virginia, Duke, St. John's, Utah, Georgetown, UCLA, Iowa State, Iowa, Gonzaga. Then we move on the right side.
Sure.
Villanova, Louisville, Oklahoma, Virginia, Duke, Utah, UCLA, Gonzaga, and then the fine dancing eight.
No, the Elite Eight, Larry.
Oh, whatever. Villanova, Virginia, Duke, Gonzaga, and the Final Four, Villanova and Gonzaga. With Gonzaga going to the national championship and Gonzaga beating Kentucky in an upset.
Wow.
Those are my brackets. There you are.
Put it in the book. Put it in the book.
Nicely done.
Yeah. Do you follow Chuck or Vaughn? Do you follow the basketball game?
I'm like every fan. It's about 3 days ago. Look, it's there's nothing else on TV.
It's a nice.
I'll look in.
I'll
look in.
Yeah,
I'll look in.
No, and look, the NCAA, the first round is probably the best television. There's no better weekend to be in Vegas.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
So
this
true.
is why God invented Vegas in a sports book. I mean, that's what's. I mean, I gamble on every.
Would you guys be like
I gamble
Rob
on
and I
every
find
game? It's ridiculous.
We find that like for example, I'm an AU guy, so if American University happens by some miracle to get in it, I'll show some interest, and then they get knocked out in the first round by teams like Villanova. Rob's got VCU,
Right.
Virginia
Seeded
Commonwealth
seventh.
Although
University.
VCU, I mean,
Yeah,
Shaka Smart, they went to a Final Four.
I will watch until they lose. So I should be, after Friday, I'm clear.
Hey Rob, why don't you tell Chuck your favorite player on VCU? Who's your favorite player on the team?
Oh, I like the tall guy. I was always more of a theater guy, Chuck. I apologize.
He sings their song.
I do sing the song. I have you do the song.
Theater arts. Theater arts. Yes, sir. All right, start the. Oscar, did you want to give us your bracket or not?
No. Actually, we're gonna
Good. Let's start the show. That's a great idea. Thanks.
It's the Mike O'Mara Show. You can listen to the Mike O'Mara Show at www.mikeomarashow.com.
Stay tuned for an outstanding entertainment program.
It's the Mike O'Mara Show.
Let's get down to business on the entertainment capital of the world.
Wow. It's a clean slate. Put the reception desk right here. Get some comfortable seating for the clients.
It's big, a lot of offices.
Yeah, I like the openness. Feel like I can breathe in here, you know? It's not some claustrophobic little closet that smells like acetone. Room to grow. Dream big, I say. Got a decent-sized conference room, not as big as Hamlin's, but, it's cozy. Our elderly brethren prefer that, I find.
Yeah, could be cozier, though. Maybe you could embroider some little cushions. Crochet a runner for the table.
Rocking chairs all around?
Yes. Make it look like the front of a Cracker Barrel, huh? Now you're talking.
It's the Mike O'Mara Show. Mike O'Mara, Rob Spiewak, Oscar Santana. And now, from his office chair, here's Mike.
We are live from the Cappy Pfeiffer Studios from sunny Southwest Florida in the best exotic marigold community and our nation's capital. This is the Mike O'Mara Show. We are powered by Encore Insurance Services and heard daily for over 5 years at MikeO'MaraShow.com. Online, on air, and on your mobile device, the Mike O'Mara Show is a daily radio show and podcast with the greatest listeners on the planet because they get it. And if you are here, you do too. Our show today is brought to you by Vegas.com. Make no mistake, spring is is here, and springtime is the best time to visit Vegas time, everybody. Get the best deals from Vegas.com, whether it's spring break, March Madness, NASCAR, the hottest clubs, EDM events. What are EDM events?
Electronic dance music, Mike. You know, like the Dead
With
Mouse
Dead
5.
Mouse 5? Okay, very good. Or just a much-needed getaway. Vegas.com is the way to do Vegas because everyone at Vegas.com lives there, they work there, and they party there. They know the people that set the deals, so the moment prices drop, Vegas.com drops them on their site in real time. Vegas.com saves you money on all the hot headliner shows, tours, attractions, VIP bottle service, all the good stuff. You will get the lowest rate on your hotel. If your hotel rate drops after you book it, they tell you so you can rebook, and Vegas.com will refund the difference. Find that somewhere else. So you've got a best price guarantee even after you've paid. Go to Vegas.com right now, click on the microphone in the top right-hand corner, and enter the code TMOS to receive an extra 10% off everything but air hotel packages. That's Vegas.com. Click the microphone and get your bonus savings by using secret code TMOS. Okay, we've got Vaughn Ververs and Chuck Todd here. We can really start now. Now I'm really, really excited. My first question would be to Chuck. Chuck, at any time over the last few days when you knew you were dropping by, did your career flash in front of your face?
Yeah, a few. I was just thinking, it's like, can I even, the first thing I thought of, I told Rob when he emailed me, I said, I still think about the 6 smells of Bob Hope, which I think is one of your great. And yet now I feel like if you say it, I assume I'd be suspended from NBC.
You know what's strange about that? It is a different climate. I think it's even on radio everywhere. Ever since the Janet Jackson fiasco, I think it's just a different world that we live in. And even our regular show, we do a bonus show every week where we kind of just let it all fly. Right. But we have really nothing to lose at all, Chuck.
But don't you? It does feel as if we have more. And this is the worst thing about social media. I feel like we've become George Orwell ourselves. Like, it's not government, it's not Big Brother. We so police ourselves culturally that we're taking the fun out of. I think it must be much harder for you guys to do your show now.
It's even doing a podcast. I feel more scrutiny, and not necessarily the corporate scrutiny that we used to feel. And by the way, when we talk about policing this and coming from corporate radio, the fact is that I always said there were the government agencies that supposedly set the standards for broadcasting, but the strongest hand that was played when it came to anything that would approach censorship on the old Don and Mike show or the Mike O'Mara show would come from our corporate fathers, where we would be called in. We'd go into the company lawyer's office. Those were the guys that were setting the standards because they worry about everything else. That's the way at least it was with us.
I saved for years an email from the very high-paid CBS attorneys, and the reply was, I was asking about sound effects we could play on the show, and we were back and forth, and one of the emails was one line. It says, "Can you describe the fart?"
I remember that.
Yeah, and they wanted to know. They wanted to know it was a topic of moisture. That was the issue at hand.
But Chuck makes a great point where the type of radio we do here, Mike, and frankly, a lot of people have been relegated to like really online type of hot talk radio.
Right.
Even then, if it's a joke, it's a joke. But if someone doesn't take it as a joke and it snowballs into some sort of hashtag, it really could cost you the way you make your living.
Look, remember that? Do you read? Whether was it a woman, corporate PR? She sent a tweet, and it was
before she got on the plane.
Before she gets on the plane about AIDS in Africa.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Look, you're sitting there going, "Yeah, that was a stupid tweet."
Yes.
But who is this woman? And all of a sudden, she lands in
6
South
hours
Africa,
later,
10 whatever it was, 6-8 hours later, and she's out of a job.
Yeah.
That's
it's
crazy.
truly
That's like bizarre instant justice.
Yeah, and also with social media, gone is the fleeting comment. Everything exists and exists in perpetuity.
Every picture, every tweet, every thought that you have, and this is why people don't. The smart people are very careful about how they're using it. I think they're getting smarter, but it doesn't take long to get.
I self-censor myself all the time. What is it? There's a great Herman Edwards, the former coach of the Chiefs. He's got this. He apparently, when he talks to players, when they're NFL rookies, he says. He just has this phrase, "Don't press send." Don't press send.
I totally agree.
I get it. I get it, but it's boring. That stinks. It's too bad.
Well, I think really maybe it's because Don and I did this for so long, and I think that I I was always careful. I seem to remember I would, rant and rave, but I wouldn't do it with an email. I mean, I always thought that was something that could come back and bite you. And it's stunning to me that people still do this. And now, with that said, I was in that type of a job where I probably had to be more careful than anybody else. But I think that more and more you're seeing the average person that's out there that'll throw something on social media and they get bitten for it.
Yeah,
and I think in many cases they should.
You were getting paid to push the envelope.
Right.
But, I mean, that's
exactly.
sort of that was to me always the ridiculous. And then they were, oh, you went too far. Well, why the hell?
Yeah.
That's when you get hired. That was the whole point.
Well, that was it, but it was the whole reactionary thing, and it's I found that the suits in our business were reacted much like people in politics do. The way I remember, Chuck, this is interesting. I remember one of the most painful things that we went through was when they had it was either a House or Senate committee, I don't remember, where they brought the broadcasting executives like Mel Karmazin. They all had to sit down in front of that. Mm-hmm. And you know what? We were told that we all had to either watch or listen to that. And that was the first time that I became indelibly aware of the fact of grandstanding. I'd never really even thought about it. And I said, oh, my God, these guys there's nothing really being accomplished here. You're going, and you guys have probably, Vaughn and Chuck, you've known this for a long time. They're up there. They're making their little speech. They're saying, look at how good I am and how sweet I am. And I found it excruciating to sit through that and listen to that. And now whenever I hear any kind of committee hearing, I realize that's what those guys are doing. And we have them all the time. And it's just an excuse for politicians to get up there and do that.
It used to be, though, that those people had the cards. They had all the power on the table. That's not necessarily the case anymore. In fact, their companies and their businesses, those corporations are being increasingly pressured by the new companies out there, whether it's at BuzzFeed or any kind of news organization that's really getting traffic, particularly among young people, that's getting attention, are suddenly competitors. It's no longer ABC, CBS, NBC, maybe CNN. They were the new boy on the block. Now it's the entire world that you're competing against, and those pressures are coming back to the top. And now they're starting to come down as well. So it's an interesting mix right now.
Well, I tell people that now, doing it the way we do it now, we have gotten our audience down to this core of people that really do get what we do. And it's a wonderful way to do it. And I think that everybody is more of a critic nowadays. And I think everybody's got a voice because of the way the system is set up. And I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. It's instantaneous from when you guys both started covering politics. Yeah. It's instantaneous now. I mean, you see how fast can a cycle? Is it still 24 hours? Is it still the quote unquote 24-hour news cycle that everybody talks about, or is it faster than that?
No, I think it's obviously much faster. I feel like we have. I feel like a news cycle is somewhere between, 2 and 5 hours. I mean, I feel like that you see and look, we watch it. We have two cable channels in the NBC empire, right? CNBC and MSNBC, and you could just watch something, and literally something will be a huge story at 1 o'clock. By the time we put together the NBC Nightly News, we'll have put it down. Maybe it's a third block story. Maybe it's of what we call a VO, just something that Lester will just report in 25 seconds and move on. But if we'd done the newscast 5 hours earlier, we'd have done a full-fledged package and led with it. So we treat the news cycle at about 3 or 5 hours. Do I think it is? Should it be that way? No. But that's the way we think the audience thinks.
Things are flying by so fast. We have reporters and people are like this all over the business that have the tweet deck open with just thousands and thousands of pieces of information literally rolling across their eyeballs all day long. It's very difficult not to get caught up in that stream, and it's harder to pull back and give any kind of context to the situation. So what you end up with is a lot of loud voices for a short period of time. And then if it's an interesting enough story to enough people, then you'll get the context later on, but it moves lightning quick.
All right, well, I want to put on my, a lot of people don't realize this, but I actually went to American University. And,
bachelor's degree.
Yes, I have a bachelor's degree. I have a bachelor's degree in broadcast journalism. People don't realize that, and it's something that I actually did a long time ago. I really
certainly
did
has come in handy.
Yes, I know. Thank you. Thank you very much. As I'm playing all my DJ sound effects, so I just can't tell you, gentlemen, that I am truly proud of my degree in broadcast journalism. And I just no, I'm going to move on right now. I actually thank you, Michael. Thank you very much. I have compiled a list of 10 normal questions that I'm curious about. That I wanted to ask our political. I wanted to ask our political guests, and I will be peppering these with my DJ questions that I have in my right hand.
Will they alternate, or is there any
here.
specific pattern?
Rob, I'll defer to you. You can tell me to ask one from column A and one from column B.
You're like a conductor.
Yeah, I would say
because, like, for example, I've got column A, normal, like serious, world of the day questions, and then I've got my.
Let's go AAB to start, and then let's gauge the room.
You mean so AA, two from A and then a B.
Right, exactly. This sounds
Yeah,
like
well,
a
that'll
Buddy
take us up
Hackett
to
bit.
our first break. I think that would be good.
Okay,
and incidentally, Chuck and Vaughn, feel free to both answer these questions, okay? And I think Chuck will probably be able to identify from column B the questions that are designed specifically for him. And Vaughn, that's not to slight you, but he's on TV.
And I don't have the goatee, so.
All right, very good. All right, so from column A, and this is a legitimate question, I'll ask both of you guys.
All right.
Just from my observation, have both teams ever hated each other more? I don't think I've ever seen anything like this and I've been kind of a political junkie my whole life. I don't think I've seen this level of whether it's not just the president, it's Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives. Has it ever been worse than it is?
Are we
right
setting
now?
aside the Civil War? You want to set that aside?
yeah. Take the Civil War and put that in its own little
Since
compartment.
1866.
Absolutely. The
setting
Civil War.
aside that.
It was an ugly time.
I do watch Lincoln and say, hey, it was bad back then, too.
Yeah, it was.
It was bad back then, but it seems like I've never seen anything like this.
No, it is. And look, I go through it. It's all, it is, we've lost the art of persuasion. Right, it used to be, and there's a whole mess of reasons. We can talk about how they draw congressional districts. We can talk about how the interest groups, the rise of interest groups, have driven up things. I think big data, where the two political parties are so successful at finding like-minded people to increase their vote total, they don't think about there really is a swing vote, but there isn't persuasion. I tell people, look in October of 2014, which is the last 30 days before the election. In the old days, those last ads on a general election and a big competitive Senate race, both candidates would advertise on the same issue. They were giving you, it was a persuasive argument. They were trying to do that. Now, they're talking past each other. It's Mars and Venus business, right? It's the red and blue planet, and they're just talking to people that might support their side of the aisle. So they treat the idea of a swing voter as a voter who swings between voting and not voting, so that when they vote for the same team, but they are assuming they're just casual voters. They don't actually try to persuade somebody to their argument. So when you do that, then you only elect people who have only been talking to people on one side of the argument. So then it's inevitable that when they actually get to Congress, that's all they do too. So
so sad to me.
It is the lost art of political persuasion. What I always say is when people say they hate politics, I said no, actually. You hate the idea that these guys don't actually practice politics anymore. They don't do that.
Right. Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Well,
that's what's gone.
And I think that part of that too is this fast-paced world that we do live in. But the politicians have done a great job of basically rigging the game for their own purposes. A lot of these congressmen, whether they're Democratic or Republican, they come from districts that they're competing within their own party to get elected there. They're not competing against the opposite party. So the big fight in their district is, can I beat this conservative Republican to retain my Republican seat? So I have to be a little bit more conservative because that's what the voters in this district want. That's how they've drawn these districts around the country. It's gerrymandering. I mean, these guys have done a great job. Ed Gillespie, 6 years ago, did a whole campaign around state legislatures. Why is it important for Republicans to get state legislators? legislative seats because they can draw the district. So they've rigged the game to their own design, and now they're dealing with the consequences of it, which is what Chuck described.
All right. Well, I think that it's sad, and I'll get my next question in from column A here, because it really does. When I think about the world and I think about what's happening, and I hear all this coverage about the senators sending the letter to Iran, I feel that the true issue should be, will there be a deal with Iran? And I'll ask both you guys. That's my biggest concern. I don't care what team you play for. I'm worried about the potential of going to war with a country that seems to be pretty good at it. And that scares me. Another war in the Middle East scares me. So my question to both of you, do you think with all the noise and everything that's been going on, do you think there will be inevitably a deal with Iran or not? Or is all this crap that we're doing scuttled that? And is there a chance that we're going to get a deal with Iran?
There'll be a deal. But the question is it a deal that actually prevents proliferation of nuclear weapons? Right? That's ultimately what this was supposed to be. I'm now not convinced. And by the way, so let's take the point of view of Iran. If you're Iran and you look at, it's, North Korea, we leave them alone now because they have one. We're afraid of, as much as that's incentive number one for Iran to want to keep the ability to build one. Here's incentive number two. About 10 years ago, we cut a deal with Gaddafi to cancel his nuclear ambition. He agreed to do it. Brought him into the world of nations. That lasted 3 years until we overthrew him. So what's the lesson? If you're Iran, what do you take away from that?
Right.
Do a deal with the United States, who really wants regime change. So they want to weaken us, and then at the same time. So, look, I don't know. I think we're better off getting even a bad deal with Iran, just at least having a door open with them. It's like the old Soviet Union. You didn't trust them, but you wanted to have. It was worse if you weren't even talking, right? It's like Nixon in China. It's worse if you're not even talking. So I think that is Obama's why he's so intent on just doing something. The other part of this is the Europeans. They're not as excited about Iran as we are, and the Europeans, they want to drop these sanctions yesterday. They just are, they're looking to cut deals. They're not as excitable about anything that impacts Israel the way the United States is. So if we don't do this deal, it all falls apart anyway. So I think we're sort of stuck.
And I think that's what's been missing in a lot of the coverage and a lot of the talk about it, because of the things like the Republican letter that they released, is that it's not just the U.S. that's negotiating this. You've got China, you've got Russia at the table, you've got the Europeans. It's going to, whatever deal comes out of that is inevitably going to not be the strongest deal, because you've got so many competing interests. So I think the Republicans were trying to get some partisan advantage here at home to some extent, with the realization that this is going to be a kind of a tricky thing no matter what.
When I listen to the guys that are in the know, Rob and Oscar, I actually feel calmer. I actually feel less.
Mike, I have the opposite feeling. My big red nose and my big clown shoes just got so much bigger in my eyes. Because these gentlemen, how much knowledge are in their noggins, right?
Yeah, I feel like I should be on the street handing out bumper stickers right about now.
Well, let me give him a DJ question too.
I ran.
As we go to break from column B.
Radio? Is that better DJ?
No. I can understand that.
This is riveting. Don't get me wrong.
As from column B, number one question for this one. Let me say, we'll take Chuck Todd in the back row. Question number one: does Matt Lauer smell like daisies?
It's no. I would say it's more. I would probably say it's more of a yellow rose. There's a little bit of that. Always fresh. Always fresh.
Oh, well done. That was fun. Oh, this is a lot of fun. We'll come back with Vaughn Ververs and Chuck Todd, both from NBC. You're listening to the Mike O'Meara Show.
Congrats, Joe. You are officially divorced.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Hey, no problem. What are you going to do to celebrate?
Nothing special. I'll just, watch some TV, play some online poker, get drunk.
So act like you did as a husband.
That's right.
Your wife doesn't miss you at all. Rob and Joe Show, new episode every week, robandjoeshow.com, iTunes, and on the TMOS app.
For more information, visit us at morebroadcasting.com.
Welcome back to the Mike O'Mara Show. We want to thank everybody that has responded to our survey. This has really gone well, and I can't tell you how many listeners come up to me every single day and say, hey, John, I'm dying to take a brief anonymous internet survey. Well, folks, you're in luck. Effective immediately. All you have to do is head over to MikeO'MaraShow.com and click the survey banner right there on that page. All kidding aside, it would help us out a lot. If you can take a few minutes on our behalf, it will genuinely help us match up our show with the advertisers that fit TMOS and appeal to you guys at the same time. We promise to never share or sell your email address. Scout's honor. Just click the survey banner on our website and tell us the truth. Thank you, as always, for your support, partners. And now back to the countdown, everybody. We're here with the wonderful host of Meet the Press, Chuck Todd, and our old friend Vaughn Ververs from NBC. And really great for you guys to stop by today. It's I think it's probably a little bit of a... And by the way, if you're listening in the background, Chuck Todd has... people don't know this, and I'll break the story. Chuck is suffering from tuberculosis.
Yes.
And so
this could be his last podcast.
Yeah, time of year, Mike. You never know.
Really terrific to have you back. So is Chuck, let me ask you this. Is Hillary Clinton, is her nomination anything but inevitable? I mean, she's got it, right? Even with this whole email thing, it's going to be her, right?
Yes. You know, she would have to have 3 more episodes like she's had over the last 10 days take place before Labor Day of this year, before Democrats suddenly went nuts, or before even a Joe Biden says, you know what, maybe I can beat her. He's not going to do something, somebody close to him said to me, he's not Don Quixote. He's not going to do something where he only has a 10% chance of beating her. So she's nowhere near that. And Democrats, you look at any surveys on this emails, Democrats don't think it's an issue. Democrats are fired up about Hillary in a way.
Made them a little nervous, though, didn't it? Just a little bit nervous. Just the way.
There's a difference. It made Washington Democrats nervous. It didn't
the
make
people
Reagan.
That are in,
it didn't make regular.
The insiders got a little bit nervous about this?
Yes, because they sort of burned out. There is a Clinton fatigue. Juan and I talk about it. The media's got Clinton fatigue. Some of us, I've been covering her for 22 years. And, I joke with my wife. I'm like, 10 more years of the Clintons. For good, bad, or indifferent, 10 more years of just, there's been Clinton derangement syndrome on the right for years, and it's like, it's not going to go away.
Chuck and I we met each other 24 years ago. And in the 92 campaign, we met each other. We were covering Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton and all those, Jennifer Flowers at that time. I mean, we have done that since the beginning of our careers. It is a little tiring. I don't think I will be interested to see what Democrats will think of her a year from now. I think they've bought into this. They don't have a plan B. This is their candidate. That's the boat that they're in, and they're going to ride it. And I think they think the women issue, I think they believe women will win this election for them.
I think they're right.
Is it
Do you
common?
think go ahead, Rob.
I'm sorry to jump in. Is it common for Washington Democrats to react differently than the party as a whole?
Always.
Does that happen, really?
Always.
They're hypersensitive?
Yeah,
or?
no, I think it's just exactly because it's but that's the same way Washington Republicans versus the rest of Republicans.
Sure.
It's I think it's more of they sit there and listen to people like me, criticizing what they're doing, and then they get nervous. They listen to the punditry. They listen to the
and don't
DC
forget, in Washington, politics is a business. It's not just a passion or a hobby. It is those things.
A livelihood.
Yeah.
But it's a livelihood. Yeah,
we're a company town. Yeah, exactly.
Behind the scenes, do you guys think is there because we're not in the know? Is there a legitimate Republican frontrunner? I mean, you can't break anything out just yet. But do you guys have a theory as to who might break out of the pack and be a legitimate frontrunner for the Republicans?
I'd rather be Scott Walker than anybody else right now.
Really, you really think he's legit? Huh?
Wow. I don't know. Well, it doesn't matter. I think this is what conservatives see in Scott Walker. They see a guy that talk the talk and then walk the walk on one of their enemies over the years, and that was labor. He went and took labor on, and he won. I can't tell you how many conservatives have said to me, hey, at least that guy did something. All these other conservatives say they're going to do this. They say they're going to ban abortion, or they say they're going to do this on immigration, or they say they're going to do this, and then they get into power and they compromise and they don't stick to their guns. The thing that fires up the base about Walker for these guys, because he doesn't have a lot of charisma. He's just sort of a guy from Sheboygan. I don't even think he really is, but you want to say Sheboygan.
Sheboygan sounds
right.
funny.
It just sounds funny.
Exactly.
He's got male pattern baldness in the worst way. It's this terrible way that he's losing his hair.
Like Rob.
Hey. That's what ruined my nomination, Mike.
So,
that's right.
He really just looks like average Joe, but he won something. and I think he is going to be allowed to make more mistakes than any of the other candidates running. Now, then look at a guy like Jeb Bush, who, I grew up in Florida, man. This guy invented modern conservative Republican movement in the state of Florida, and he's being considered a rhino. I mean, it is sort of funny to me. You ask anybody in Florida, they would say, they think that Jeb was a competent guy. He was obviously he dealt with more hurricanes in 1 year than any governor's ever had. His FEMA director was so good that Obama hired him. So there's a lot of things that people liked about Jeb, but they also say, hey, he opened the door to every gun law that's the most liberal gun laws in the country, and I mean by liberal. I
live it down here. I see signs down here in Fort Myers on the side of the road that say, what was the one yesterday? I swear to God, I saw this yesterday.
Mike is
it was not for Big Sugar.
Yeah.
It was not. That's the gov. That's the gov now. But there was something that said, I got it. It was a phone number, and it said carry permits will come to your house.
Right.
I swear to God, that was a sign on the side of the road.
It is, and if you don't carry a gun, people in the state of Florida are, what's wrong with you? How have you not done that yet? Anyway, but Jeb is just because of two issues, immigration and Common Core and education. So he's going to raise more money than anybody's ever raised before. And yet he might not be able to buy the nomination.
Well, and if you look at this Republican field as a whole, I mean, I think that Walker is in a good position because, frankly, he has a huge upside. We sort of know Bush is defined, Clinton's defined. People are either going to love or hate them. You might see some movement on the margins. You may see some people desert them, depending. But people are they are very familiar with those two names and those two families. Walker has a tremendous upside. He can come onto the scene and be a fresh new thing. This is what Barack Obama did in 2008. Nobody gave him a chance, but he was right on the issue that mattered to Democrats at the time, which was the war in Iraq, and he was able to beat the unbeatable Hillary Clinton. I think that these Republicans as a field is a much stronger field than we saw 4 years ago, where you had Michelle Bachmann and Herman Cain and a lot of those folks who you wouldn't put on the top tier just from their resumes, but you've got Rand Paul, who's a serious guy. You've got Ted Cruz, no matter what you think
He will
of
be
him.
a serious guy, Vaughn, when he changes that hair. He will be a serious guy to me when he changes. And it changes all the time. Look, I think Rand Paul says some very interesting things, but I cannot stop. I literally stare at it like a dog hearing a high-pitched whistle. I can now. Chuck and Vaughn, you've both seen it up close, and you know what? This is the middle column. Please tell me, what is your impression of the Rand Paul hair?
I go back and forth on whether it's real or not real. Whether it's implants or not. Biden has implants. Did you know that?
My God! Well, he had those 30 years ago, right?
Here's why I love Joe Biden. Is that I'll never forget. He did an interview about him once, and he said, "Aren't these terrible?" I got them, and they were like he admitted they looked like that they just looked awful. They actually now look okay. He's got the nice gray, and he combs them back, but it's still implant hair.
You know what? Joe Biden got him when there was a guy. Dennis that used to be a salesperson at the old WAVA.
Yes, I remember.
This guy got them, and
yeah.
I remember Chuck and Vaughn. I remember looking at this guy and saying, "You shave my head." I would never go through. And what they did, I remember what this guy did. He took. They took little bullets of skin from the back of his hairline and planted it up in the front. That's the way the surgery used to be done.
Hair on the top of his head.
Oh my God, it was terrible.
You look at some of these hair implants, you wonder, where did you get that hair? Yeah. Did you get that from the rest of your head?
Trader Joe's is where they got that.
Somewhere else. Look at NBC, we call it lowering. And that's what I'm doing now. I used to try to part, and I went from a
forehead. But it's so
forehead.
smart to go that route, Chuck. It really
I went from a
is.
forehead to a six head, and so I decided, all right, I'm lowering. And
I think, and incidentally, what Chuck's referring to is, I think, the only way to deal with it. I've always said this. Well, Rob, you've done it.
Yeah.
And I had a buddy of mine that worked at my very first radio station out in Herndon, Virginia. He had to be 25 years old, and he was losing it. And he immediately went to the close-cropped, almost shaved look, and that, to me, is the solution instead of going through the people that do the comb-overs and all this. It's very, very frustrating. Oscar, you were going to say something. The Better Call Saul.
Oh, yeah, and that's not getting any better, by the way.
You saw yesterday?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, we'll have to check that out. I had a question just for Chuck overall. When you take the seat for Meet the Press, and you've been on the national stage, it's got to change your life in one way or another. You have almost 500,000 followers on Twitter. The spotlight is so bright. What's the greatest thing that's come from taking that stage?
Well, I think the best thing is that sources come to you now and reporting. That's it's not about building your source. It's about dealing with incoming. So that's kind of nice when suddenly people want to tell you stuff. When your sources like reporting comes to you, that's the best part. And what you got to do is don't be lazy and don't just only deal with people that are coming to you for reporting. But that's kind of nice, and it's sort of the way Washington works. That's sucking up to perceived power. And I always sit there and say, you have no idea who you're really sucking up to. Literally, I'm a guy who used to get his news from Don and Mike. You really think I should be at Meet the Press? But anyway, so. But I tell you that the other part of that is I censor myself all the time. I just I basically stopped drinking. I got that advice actually. I know, and it has nothing
Temporary.
to do. No, it is. It
no,
will
I'm
be.
kidding.
I'm not saying I don't. I'm not a teetotaler, but it is one of those. I could have to be on air at any moment. And if you're on air, I know of a couple people they've never lived it down.
You're on.
Yeah, you have to have the edge.
You're sort of on. You're on call, and I remember when I first got into this, and Brian, I went out with Brian one night after the broadcast, and I went and got a beer, and I said, "You getting a beer?" He says, "No, I just don't drink anymore." He goes, "It's not," and he said, "I'm not a," and he goes, you just never know when you're going to be on air." And a few years later,
you talking about Brian Williams?
Yeah.
He was lying about that, Chuck.
All right.
No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. I'm making a joke. I had to make the joke. I'm sorry. That was
I'll stop.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry.
I get it.
No, just making. I'm sorry. It's my joke.
No, that's what you have to do. That's exactly right. It would be wrong. It would be wrong. Your listeners would abandon you.
Brian Williams
yes,
is
I couldn't let that go by.
Hero of mine. Just you should know
that's
that.
true.
But Bin Laden night, it was a Sunday night. You get the call. And I remember I was halfway through a beer. And luckily it was just one, Sunday night, sometimes it's that you get the Mondays and you're like, whew, you really want to take the edge off.
Right.
Exactly.
And that was the last night that I remember I left half a beer and I was like, thank goodness. And I think there were some other folks that night that came on, they were kind of slurring their words. And I realized, boy, you could end your career
at any moment.
Moment. And so that's the price. You know what? And to me, that's not that high.
No. Can you take us through getting a call like that from your perspective, regardless of the beer? It's
like the Bin Laden night.
It's Sunday night, right?
That was just there was a lot of chatter. Something was going on, and if you recall, we were in the middle of the Libya thing, so a lot of us at first assumed, Gaddafi's dead. And then I got a call, and then I was calling people, some of my sources, and I talked to one person, and I'll never forget what this person said to me. Look, it's somebody we've been looking for a long time. Whoa. And it was just that
tells you right there
immediately. And it was like,
right
wow.
There.
And it was really cool. It was the only time we ever used it. We had put in this camera because we couldn't get a crew in there on a Sunday night in the White House. And I'm sitting there on the floor trying to hook up this automated robotic camera that we'd installed in the White House so that I could get on air that night. And it was one of those my MacGyver moment. And I was proud. I got it. Nobody could figure out how to walk me through, and I do just enough of an audio file that I was able to figure it out. Got myself on the air from the White House, and it was one of those, nobody cares about this, but the five networks. We were the first ones to be able to go live from the White House before anybody else.
So
did.
you got the camera on air live, and then stood in front of the camera, did the live shot.
Did the live shot. I remember Gregory David had been brought in from. He was anchoring a special from. Literally, they were trying to find Brian. I mean, it was Sunday night. Like they were trying to get Brian. I think he was in Connecticut at his house, and he hadn't come in yet. So. It was. They were scrambling all of us in Washington because we could get the cameras faster.
Wow.
And there was
So it was just
and
sort of-
everybody. That's one of those rare moments where everybody's kind of on the same team, isn't it? I mean, that's where the
100%.
joy of the moment where we got this son of a bitch. That's got to be something.
And
special.
those are actually some of my most favorite moments covering the White House. I call it Team America, particularly when we're doing international stories or foreign policy stories. There is this feeling, literally, you work with the other networks. You're sort of all in this together.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those few moments. It's a reminder, as much as we get into our petty politics, you go overseas or you cover an international story, and there is this Team America aspect to it.
But before you get out of here, could you look at Pony's camera? Because it's not working. And if you could fix that for us, that'd be great.
I got a dead camera.
We're going to take a break. We've got Chuck Todd and Von Ververs from NBC here. We're going to talk about Meet the Press and a lot more fun when we come back on the Mike O'Mara Show.
I'm trying to pretend I'm relaxed, but I'm playing castanets with my knees.
Welcome back to the Mike O'Mara Show. I talk about it all the time. What keeps you from sleeping your best? Do you sleep too hot? Do you have a snoring bedfellow? Maybe it's just a lousy mattress. Well, guess what? Sleep Number has an adjustment for all of it. Whether you want to make the roar go out of the snore or adjust each side of the bed to the perfect firmness, Sleep Number has innovations designed for your ultimate sleeping comfort. Every new Sleep Number bed is available with Sleep IQ technology using the dual air technology inside the bed. Built-in sensors tell you how you're sleeping and allow you to make adjustments to optimize your sleep. Sleep Number also has FlexFit adjustable bases with choices you will love. Like, I love this partner snore technology.
The best.
A lot of people don't realize, I remember back in the day, you would get little plastic elevators that would take the back of the bed and stick it up in the air so you wouldn't snore. Well, Sleep Number's got elevated bases that do that for you right now, and you'll love it. My Sleep Number setting is a 65. I'm sorry, check that, an 85. Carlos is a 65. Come in right now and save $600 on the Sleep Number i8 bed, rated #1 by a leading consumer magazine. No better sleep. Find your Sleep Number setting today only at one of the 450 Sleep Number stores nationwide. Find one near you by calling 800-511-0061. Again, that number is 800-511-0061. And don't forget to wink and tell them Mike O'Mara sent you.
The wink is key.
We're with Chuck Todd from Meet the Press. Von Ververs is also here. And Vaughn, thanks so much. It's good to see you, incidentally. We loved having you on the old Mike O'Mara show, and great to have you in studio with us today. I wanted to ask about you hear a lot of people talking about the liberal media and the liberal mainstream media, and I'm curious if when you're doing a show like Meet the Press, I would imagine that is objectivity has to be a pretty important deal. And do you get a lot of that from guests on the right? And I'm just curious whether they say, well, I don't want to do Meet the Press because we know where you guys come from. I watch the show. I don't sense that. So I'm curious whether you get any blowback from political leaders about, the point of view of Meet the Press.
Not from, because there's no point of view to Meet the Press.
Right, exactly.
So not to the professionals. Now there's like the campaign guys who are working it, right? They're just trying to work the refs, so they may try to lump an Al Sharpton and MSNBC and use that as a way to say, well, you work with folks who are have an agenda, so that must mean you have the sort of guilt by association aspect of trying to get at people. But that is just no different than yelling at we're in college basketball time. It's no different than some coach going, hey, man, you're not calling that foul. You're not. Why are you always doing that? Why are Duke getting all the calls?
Right.
That's sort of where this goes. And I have to say, and look, the left is now just as aggressive about this. I mean, I probably get more heat from the left than the right these days because the left gets just as aggressive at trying to work the refs. They think that we in the quote mainstream media overcompensate to the criticism. That's their argument. Of course, the right says we're never there. So it's a shame. I think advocacy journalism is sort of the Fox and what MS at prime time that those models that hasn't been healthy for politics. It's just not healthy for it. It all goes to one of the explanations why we don't persuade people anymore.
And I think I think both people. I'm sorry, Vaughn. I just was going to say. I think people out there that are viewers feel the same way. I think the vast majority of them agree with you.
They
don't
the
want to see
fastest growing
that,
party in the country is no party. Is independent. In so many states now, the number 2 party in a red state or a blue state will be registered independents or red or folks in the middle. So, we just had a very partisan election in 2014. Where more money was spent than ever and fewer people showed up to vote than ever. That's dogs not buying the dog food. And the dogs that aren't buying the dog food are the breeds in the middle. right?
Mhm.
Are the
Right.
middle of the road folks are just saying, why bother? Those guys are too liberal and those guys are too conservative.
And it's really tactical in a lot of ways for these politicians, whether they're, they could say, why should we go on Meet the Press? Mitt Romney didn't go on Meet the Press, I think, until the very end of the campaign, if he ever did, which was a real break from the past. And why? Because he could go on Fox News and talk to Fox News supporters. Those are the people he needed. Those are the Republican voters he needed in the primaries, in the general election
So
to
he
get
would
out
double
and vote
down
for
on
him.
them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a tactical thing in a lot of ways, and then they can say, "Well, look, we're not talking to the liberal media," and that gives them even more currency among their own voters. So it's really there's a tactical element to it as well, and they use those arguments to persuade their own people.
I would imagine that when I think about interviewing people throughout my career, the biggest frustration I would ever have would be a yes/no person, where you're just trying to get them to say anything, and they're just not talking. Well, politicians talk. That's what they do for a living, so you don't have that on a weekly basis. But I think your challenge would probably be getting legitimate information out of them. Is that your greatest challenge when you're interviewing political people? Because trying to get them to really say something.
It is. It's funny. I'm trying. The different ways of. Do I get their saying? I know you've said. I know this is your talking point, and I respect the fact that in some ways you want to get it out. Right. You're in front of 3 or 4 million viewers, people, and so on one hand, I respect that you want to be able to state your position, but I'm trying different ways to get it out of the way. I understand this is where you came from. Okay, now let's go a step deeper. Let's talk about this. So, I don't want it to come across as gotcha either. I don't like the gotcha questions. I remember just this week or a couple weeks ago when Scott Walker was asked about the president and his religion. I actually thought, okay, his answer was terrible, but I thought
horrible answer. Yeah.
Okay, but why was he asked? What was going on in that moment? I couldn't defend the journalistic. It was somebody asking the question. It was a trip. They were trying to see, would he fall for the trap? Well, then you get to the point, well, no wonder politicians think we in the media, all we're looking for is a cheap headline. Yeah. And the Post that day, they wrote a whole story just based on that and got the big clicks and the cheap headline.
And
it was sort of
everybody
like,
knows the answer.
Right.
Everybody knows the answer.
And he was just playing to his I mean, the whole thing was, it was a definition of why people have given up on the political system, and we in the press are a part of the problem.
How do both of you rate not only the president but the entire administration as a communicator? How do you rate the president as a communicator, and how do you think the administration does with the press?
Look, I think he's an overrated communicator. I think he's not as good at this anymore. I think Look, we live in a time where, for some reason, we think the president should have an opinion on everything. I think we in the press ask him. I don't care what he thinks about if Ashley Judd getting trash talked on Twitter, but I guarantee you somebody's going to think he should be asked about that. And it's like, why should he weigh in on that? And the minute he does, it'll become news. I don't care what the president thinks about paying players in the NCAA. But somebody will ask him that, and that. So I think that adds to this idea that he's overexposed and he's involved in everything, and we so centralize the figure of the presidency in a way that I think it makes it harder for him to do his job. But they're also they're not nimble at politics. For a guy that came in on new media and was so good at it, it's amazing how poor they are at it when it's a governing issue. They're really good at the campaign, and they're really poor about it in the governing aspect of it. I think part of it is the president himself. He thinks this is a joke, and he's rationally correct. He thinks it's ridiculous, some of the stupidity of how congressional politics works, backslapping, all this stuff, and he lets it show, right? And yet the problem is that you have a whole bunch of people in this town that came up through that system, and so when he does it, he sort of fakes it, and they kind of know he's going through the motions. And I think that's contributed this idea that they're not very good at running this town.
And in order to govern, you got to play the game. I mean, you have to, right?
Don't you? If you want to, well, I argue he was elected to change the game, and then the problem was he got elected with so many Democrats. He went along because he had control of everything there, and so he went along with the game when the rules were in his favor. Where I would argue he was elected to change the rules of Washington, and he didn't, and that he could have made more of a I think he made some initial mistakes where he could have made changed some of the rules. It would have beaten his, his own party would have taken a hit early. But he might be reaping the dividends now in a way that has put him in a position where he can't get anything. He can't even get his attorney general confirmed. And this woman is very qualified, and I don't even understand why the Republicans are holding her up because, okay, you don't want her, so you want Eric Holder to stay? You guys love Eric Holder. I mean, are you kidding me?
Well, it's put him in a position to be sort of the lecturer-in-chief because he can't get anything done. So what you end up with as a communicator is these long speeches about why this is, it would be a great class to take in college, but not necessarily what you want to listen to from your president on a daily basis. So I think he's gotten kind of mired down in a lot of that.
Go ahead, Oscar.
Yeah, if you don't mind, we talk about this on the show sometimes, and I'm a fan of, for example, the mean tweets and
from Jimmy Kimmel,
what
right?
the president.
Oh, it's one of the best bits on television.
It's funny.
Yeah, what the president can do to expose himself to a different audience. Mm-hmm. Though, even when he was campaigning for his first term, I felt like this past almost 7 years, 8 years. The way that we look as a society, even look, I'm 36. I'm not that young. Pony here is younger than me, but I remember as a kid when you thought of the president, or I would see a motorcade drive by. It would blow my mind. I was so excited. Is the type of exposure, and it may not be Barack Obama's fault, but overall with the new media that we have. Has that exposure kind of taken the mystique away from the presidency?
I think a little bit, and we've also dumbed down politics. I mean, one of the things that drives me nuts is when I hear a member of Congress say, "Oh, this bill is too complicated. It's too long." Well, it should be long. You're telling me healthcare? You're telling me we should be able to do a simple bill on healthcare? I mean, of course it's going to be complicated. This is Congress. It should be. This wasn't supposed to be easy. And people say,
book's too big.
Right? You're like, are you kidding me?
Long words, don't like them.
Right? And it's that part of it. It's like we're trying to dumb down politics too much. Look, I think doing these interviews for him, in addition to the other stuff, is good. The problem is when you do it exclusively and you stop doing the other stuff.
Totally agree with you. I totally agree.
It is. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, I think, look, I think Kennedy went on Jack Paar.
Yeah.
Right. So it's
Nixon did laugh in.
I think dumbing it down is fine, but also, what you both have said is that just being a better communicator overall, and that beloved factor that really Clinton and Reagan both had it to a certain extent, where they were able to get the message across without lecturing.
But they liked the game.
They liked the game.
They did
they
sort
liked
of love
the game.
politics. I mean, Bill Clinton just. And this is going to be Hillary's challenge because she's more like Obama than she is Bill.
Yes, she is. Yes, absolutely.
I always tell people the reason, actually, Obama and Hillary are personally actually very friendly. And it's more because they're alike. They sort of get each other. They both roll their eyes at some of the things they have to do in politics.
They feel they're maybe above the fray a little bit.
And they'd rather be sort of wonky. They'd rather be policy people. They'd rather be able to win arguments based on and the judges be the people at the Harvard Law Review. You know what I mean? They're in that respect.
Right. But that sort of flies in the face, too, of, Chuck says that Obama was elected to change the game. Well, clearly the American people have said he didn't, because our last Wall Street Journal NBC News poll showed that there's a more hunger for change today than there was ahead of the 2008 election where he got elected. So people they don't like what he's done. They want to change. What they want to change it to is very widely disagreed upon, but it does show you that that's one constant here.
Well, we have talked about dumbing it down, and I think that these gentlemen, Rob and Oscar, you will agree, they have answered every serious question we've asked of them.
Yeah, I
think we've troubled them with this enough. I know one of the reasons they might want to pop in here is to live in our world, and I think it's time really for the last 20 minutes or so of this program. I think we really ought to just dumb it down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw away column A totally.
Yeah.
Right, I am. Because I'm satisfied. I don't know, Rob, did you get anything in here that you wanted from Chuck? Because I'm satisfied.
I had one quick question, as I'm sort of a broadcast history junkie. How do you feel about stepping in, as I think you're the 11th moderator of the longest running show on television, Does that historical import, does that weigh on you? Or
yeah. Because here's what
Heavy lies the crown, Rob Spiewak.
Uneasy.
It's only the longest running television show
in the world.
Yeah,
okay.
A lot of people have seen it.
Here's the goal. You don't want to be the last one.
Exactly.
Right? You don't want to be you just hope you don't get it canceled.
Right.
Well, we're going to help you with that right now as we move it. Now, Rob, we're not going to take a break.
Okay.
We're actually going to wait before, because then we've got news you may not need. We'll let the guys panel with our brand of news. So I'm going to get through these, Chuck, and just brief answers is what I asked for here, okay?
Yeah.
We're just going to move through here. Now, question number 2. In a cage match, who would win, Lindsey Graham or Bernie Sanders?
Oh, Bernie.
Saunders.
Absolutely.
Way to go. Did you ever make crank calls claiming to be David Gregory?
Yeah. No. Last crank call I did was to a guy named Michael Hunt. Okay. I'm just being honest. I like everybody else, I came back watching Porky's, and me and my buddies went into the phone book in Dade County and called every Michael Hunt until we just, 13. We were hilarious.
Moving right along, have Andrea Mitchell and Alan Greenspan ever had you over for a hot tub party? That's no, I guess. Did Ann Curry ever hit on you? Thank you very much. Have you ever played cards with Brian Williams? And that is a legitimate question.
No, he's not a card player. We've watched football and had Domino's pizza.
Oh, nice.
Okay, very nice. Is it true that you asked Bob Schieffer to go jogging?
Yeah. Actually, wind sprints.
Okay. Could you think, and this is do you think you could beat Savannah Guthrie arm wrestling?
She's got leverage. No.
Very good. Okay.
I'll admit.
Does Mitch McConnell ever blink, and have you ever seen him snatch a fly out of the air with his tongue?
Hey, man, don't bet against the turtle. Don't bet against the turtle.
And last question, does Secretary of State John Kerry react violently when he is near a burning torch?
Is he the one, we used to have to give this quiz at the hotline back in the day, and you had to political quiz, and before we'd hire you, you'd had to score a certain. So we would ask people the difference between John Kerry and Bob Kerry. One's head is shaped like a light bulb. And that was, you had to identify which Kerry was shaped like a light bulb. By the way, if you're wondering, it was Bob.
Bob, yes, I think we knew that.
Bob Kerry had a light bulb head.
And of course, we always did the Frankenstein fire joke. That's an old goodie. We will take a break. We're with Chuck Todd and Vaughn Ververs. We will come back, and news you may not need right here on the Mike O'Mara Show. Hi, everybody. It's Mike O'Mara here with some exciting news for all of you Mike O'Mara Show fans. We have upgraded our app for iOS and Android. Now you can listen on your phone, and it's the best and most powerful way to listen to TMOS that has ever been invented in the world. Download your free app upgrade at the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store and get ready to listen to TMOS in an easier way than you ever have before. That's right. We've upgraded our app, and it's incredible. Enjoy listening to the Mike O'Mara Show. Welcome back to the show. Making trips to the post office is becoming a thing of the past. Live in the now. You just don't need to do it anymore thanks to Stamps.com. You already know that going to the post office is a massive hassle. Driving there, parking, waiting in line. What you need to know is that you're paying more for postage than you have to. Stamps.com is the better way. Just use your computer and your printer to print official U.S. postage right from your desk, then just hand it to your mailman. First class, priority, international, Stamps.com does it all. Any package, any letter, and with Stamps.com, you will get special postage discounts that you can't even get at the post office. We've used Stamps.com. I know, Rob, you sent 1 million fruitcakes out with Stamps.com.
Like 60 fruitcakes went out this Christmas, and Stamps.com made it so easy. They just left from my house. I said, please take these.
That's right, guys. You're on a show that gives away fruitcakes. Act now for free. It's a no-risk trial and $110 bonus offer, including a free digital scale and up to $55 in free postage. Just go to Stamps.com and click on the microphone and use the code TMOS. Don't wait. Go to Stamps.com, and before you do anything else, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage. Type in TMOS. Stamps.com and TMOS. You will never go to the post office again, ladies and gentlemen, and we want to thank them for being a longtime sponsor of the Mike O'Mara Show.
News.
Boo. We are here with the 11th permanent moderator of Meet the Press, Chuck Todd, and the politics editor at NBCNews.com, Vaughn Ververs. They are paneling with us today, and it is time for our brand of news,
I hope
ladies and gentlemen.
Steal all your stuff, Mike.
That's right. News. All right. Serious news. Story number one. Jimmy Kimmel was doing a panel at the South by Southwest Festival in Austin over the weekend when he shared an interesting fact about himself. I don't know if anybody's aware of this. He once needed 2 surgeries because his urethra closed shut. Did you know that?
Oh.
Sounds horrible.
Yeah, bad news.
A journalist later asked him to elaborate, and he said, quote, "That was a long time ago. It just kind of closed up on its own. I don't know why it happened. I still don't know why. I'm not familiar with this. You know, I've had every medical malady known to mankind, but my hole hasn't shut."
Yeah.
But, the guy said, this is Jimmy's quote again. The guy said, "Your urethra is closing up and you need it operated on," and they did. And then they said, "Yeah, we didn't get it. It didn't quite work. We need to do it again," and they did it again. He said it's a horrible process, by the way, a horrible, horrible process. So,
Judging from the story, Mike, though, it sounds like you and Jimmy Kimmel might have the same doctors.
Yeah,
we didn't get it
because it didn't work
time.
the first time. Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much. A lot of people got behind American Sniper as a kind of pro-war statement, but Clint Eastwood says that's not the case. He set the record straight during a speech at the Loyola Marymount University School of Film and TV. He said, quote, "I think it's nice for veterans because it shows what they go through and the wives and families, and I think that all adds up to kind of an anti-war message." I really don't do Clint Eastwood.
Well, but when he said it, you were talking to a chair, so it was more visual.
Have you, either one of you guys ever interviewed Clint? Have you ever had a chance?
No, but I can tell you that was the most surreal moment I've ever had covering politics at the convention in 2012. We were all looking, everybody there was looking at one another, just asking, "Is this really happening? This cannot really
do you know
be
that the
happening."
chairman of the RNC, this guy, Reince Priebus, you go to his office and he proudly, the first thing he shows everybody is, "I got the chair. I have the chair. The chair."
Why doesn't that surprise me? Why doesn't that surprise me?
Good for him. Like, he's got a sense of humor. He that's his prized possession, the Eastwood chair. I said, "Do you turn around and yell at Obama every once in a while?" Amnesty.
Oh, we've got a major. Now, this is a breaking story for St. Patrick's Day. This is huge.
All right.
You might want to sit down, everybody. Sinead O'Connor has announced that she will no longer perform Nothing Compares to You live. Oh, my God.
Doesn't she technically not do that now?
I don't know.
Who's asking for that?
I was going to say she might perform, but no one would hear it.
That's so sad. In a Facebook post, she said, quote, "The first principle of the manner in which I'm trained as a singer is we never sing a song we don't emotionally identify with." Well, okay, Sinead, so you won't be singing that song that nobody cares. I love it. I really do. I love this song.
Beautiful song.
Because, it's got that Irish thing going where it's kind of a melancholy tone is what it is. Sinead, why don't you tell me, why did you shave your damn head and why did you disrespect Pope John Paul on national television? Sorry about that. She says, "After 25 years of singing it 9 months or so ago, I finally ran out of anything I could use." And whatever. Who gives a rat's? Honest to God.
We have the same barber. It's nice.
Sinead. All right, a new survey. We have fast food alert. Fast food. Americans picked Chick-fil-A as their favorite fast food spot. I'm very surprised. The rankings are based on our entire overall experience, quality, service, and atmosphere. The rest of the top 10 are... I smell a rat here. I don't like the list. Oscar, you'll have to weigh on this. Okay. Papa John's in the top 10.
Yeah,
tough. What? Come on.
The worst of the delivery pizzas.
Yeah.
Dairy Queen.
I don't. It's tough.
Not enough.
Yeah, it doesn't.
They're not enough. They're not enough. Right?
You've got to, especially this area, you got to park and then you got to go in.
Yeah.
Panera Bread, Sonic Drive-In, Subway, Dunkin' Donuts. This seems like they just picked the ones that are the most successful.
I think they looked out their window and see what they saw.
Doesn't
Panera, really?
Let me see.
No.
Dunkin' Donuts, Pizza Hut, Popeyes, and Taco Bell. On the other end of the scale, this is a crime. Jack in the Box is our least favorite. I like Jack in the Box in the day.
Yeah.
The rest of the top 10 worst, there's the biggie: McDonald's, Hardee's, Burger King, Panda Express, bitches.
Hey, Panda Express, bitches!
KFC, Domino's, Little Caesars, Arby's, and Wendy's. I don't know where that list came
Nothing
from.
beats a number one meal in my heart.
By the way,
man.
Brian Wayne's favorite fast food?
Yeah?
Arby's.
Nice.
He's
Arby's,
obsessed
and,
with Arby's.
and I know you guys watch
That's one
it.
of the, I'm not kidding. Literally, that'll be like the first thing an intern starts at NBC. All right, Brian's hungry. Go find an Arby's.
Go to Arby's.
And man loves Arby's.
I'll tell you what Jon Stewart has done with Arby's is one of the most hysterical relationships. It's sanctioned. He actually disses Arby's on his show, and it cracks me up. I mean, it's just fantastic. I'm going to miss that when he goes. Doctors from Stellenbosch University in South Africa just announced that they completed the first successful penile transplant. Right now, both guys are saying we're so glad we came today.
Yeah.
This is wonderful.
Urethras and
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
Can
where
you get
I
a new
live,
urethra?
Chuck.
Can
Welcome to my world in my living room down here in Florida.
Yeah.
It was for a 21-year-old guy whose stuff was damaged after, and I'm just sharing the story, after a botched circumcision.
Oh, that's the worst kind of circumcision, Mike.
It happens, Rob. You know,
I know
it
I
does.
know it.
They did the surgery in December, and they've been monitoring him ever since. Now that he's made a full recovery and he's sexually active, they have declared the procedure is a success. Yeah!
Yes!
That's fantastic. Let me see. In fact, they say the procedure wasn't even that hard to do. Pardon the pun. The biggest issue was finding a donor. In South Africa, you can't use a dead person's organs without their family's consent, even if that person is an organ donor. So the doctors had to find a family that would be willing to bury their dead relative minus his man parts.
How about
that?
that?
How about thanks, Rob?
Isn't
That's
that
a hell of a.
something?
How about that? Isn't that something? That's a hell of a.
You signed that donor card.
But I know this. It was a closed casket funeral. You can bet on it.
Yes, thank you very much. And now a little something, boys. Michael Mulia of Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, turned 21 last Friday. And by the end of the night, he got one of the things he really, really wanted for his birthday. Michael was out celebrating with a friend named Brett Wanek, who got busted for peeing on the sidewalk. And as the cops were arresting him, Michael ran up and told them, "It's my birthday!" He told him it was his birthday, so he should get arrested too.
Oh, no.
They tried to get him to walk away and leave it alone, but he kept demanding his birthday wish, so they finally gave in and made it come true. Both Michael and Brett were arrested, charged with public intoxication. It didn't happen in Florida. I'm happy about that. And yes, Michael, dreams do come true. Thank you. We'll take a break, come back with the audio vault right here on the Mike O'Meara Show.
It's Tony and Gary.
Hey there, boys and girls. I'm Tony Perkins.
Hey there, boys and girls. I'm Gary Stein.
On this week's episode of our show, I put Gary to the test, movie trivia, and he's facing off against Rob Spiewak.
I'm not worried.
Oh, yes, you're
No,
sweating.
I'm not.
You are sweating.
Now, bring it on.
It's a great episode. Please listen. Be sure to subscribe to The Tony Perkins Show on iTunes.
The Tony Perkins Show.
Welcome back to the Mike O'Meara Show. This part of the program is brought to you by CH Wine. We love CH Wine, and you will too. CH Wine, it's a very simple process. They take the little extra from these fabulous wineries, and they give it to you at an incredible discount. You will get $100 bottles of wine. You will get them for as low as $15. I've got a bunch of my CH wine that's coming probably within the next couple of days, and I'm very, very excited because I've used it, and I've used the service. And also, anybody that's ever gone to the big box store to buy their wine, or you go to something like any of the stores that sell wine, you want to bring a case of wine home, they take that hassle out because it's free shipping when you use CH Wine /TMOS, and we urge everybody to check them out. I think you'll enjoy that. You've used the wine, Oscar.
Yes.
Rob, you've used the wine.
I love it.
And when I say use the wine, I mean really use the wine.
Yes.
Because it helps. They're available in local retailers, but we really want you to try these wines, so we got you a special deal. Free shipping and an extra 20% off select bottles. All you need is TMOS. Here's the only way to do it, and get your 20% off. Visit chwine.com, click the microphone in the upper left, and enter TMOS. Save a ton of money on shipping and get fantastic wine delivered right to your door. That's chwine.com. Click the microphone and enter TMOS. chwine.com. Don't wait. You need to try this wine right now. It's amazing, and this offer will not last. We are here with Chuck Todd and Vaughn Ververs, and it's time to open up the audio vault. And Rob, you have gathered some audio today. And by the way, Vaughn, Chuck, thank you very much for putting your careers on the line today and joining us.
Really fun if you don't walk on a high wire. Right?
And you know, Mike, big day for you, right?
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, you're wearing your green. And I'm wearing the green. A pale green, and I always love this tape of the mayor from The Simpsons.
Greetings, fellow Irishmen and lady Irishmen. I, Joseph Fitzgerald O'Malley Fitzpatrick O'Donnell, the Edge Quimby, welcome you to Springfield's first booze-free St. Patrick's Day.
And I also, Mike, wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't play you my favorite recording of Sean Connery singing. This is from the Darby O'Gill and the Little People.
Have you ever seen the seagulls fly in all the heather? Or the crimson sails on Galway Bay, the fishermen on fur?
Thank you, James Bond.
Hold on, I'm looking around the room here. I see Rob. Rob, you got a green T-shirt underneath, right? And Oscar, any green for you?
No green today. No green today.
Vaughn Ververs, any green today?
Oh
yeah, you got the green T-shirt.
Double dose.
Chuck Todd?
I got nothing, man. I got nothing.
Oh, that is so dull. Come on.
I stink. Well,
do you think, you're in D.C.
Yeah.
You think you can find your way to get one of those green carnations?
Yeah,
or
something right.
Pocket square, yeah.
The pocket square. If you ever see me with the pocket square, that's when my career's over.
Really?
I am.
Really?
Nothing. I judge people on pocket squares.
Oh no!
No!
Because whenever I put my school clothes on, I wear pocket squares. Oh no! I'm never gonna wear one now.
I know. Sorry, I don't know why. It's just I don't know.
Well, you know what?
Tony, you're going to have to return the parting gifts then.
You know what? I'm never going to wear one again. You know what I'll do? I just put a little red rose right on my lapel. That's what I'll do. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Put the American flag on there.
There are so many
the American flag.
Yeah, baby.
There are so many amazing things on the internet. And you know Oscar, who we work with every day, has a lot of jobs. But did you know that Oscar is also a health evangelist?
Hi, Marie. My name is Oscar Santana, nutritionist, personal trainer, and health evangelist. As I look around, I see so many people hurting by devastating diseases such as diabetes and obesity, just to name a few.
Now, did you know you can beat diabetes by hitting a punching bag?
I gotta send that guy a cease and desist.
Here's Oscar Santana at work.
Knocking out diabetes, cholesterol, depression, all these diseases that are causing people money, happiness, and their health of their families.
So you can just, hit the big bag and you can beat the diabetes. You mentioned South by Southwest earlier, big arts festival that's going on in Austin right now.
Right.
Shia LaBeouf, good guy, not really, announced his new art project. He is going to live stream his heartbeat for the next week, and that allows him to stay calm. Here is the actual live stream of Shia LaBeouf's heartbeat. That's art, Mike, right there. Of course, it's not what we wanted to hear when we tuned in. We were hoping for Shia LaBeouf's heartbeat to sound like this.
Shia.
Oh, dear. Oh.
That's what you get for ruining the Indiana Jones movies.
And there's Shia. I tipped that in with Shia falling after that. There you go.
Mike, this really surprised me. Famous wives in the news. Can you name this singer?
Famous wife?
Famous wife. And famous on her own on her own accord.
She's a celebrity as well.
Yeah.
Miranda Lambert.
This is Rita Wilson.
Oh, wow.
Mrs. Tom Hanks has a hit record out. Just surprised me. She seemed like that might be something she would have done 30 years ago.
I think she raised her family and he was in the spotlight. Good woman.
And also, Mike, I wanted to, I know you love classic narrators on old movies and stuff. We had the guy that did the Countdown to Christmas. I want to introduce you to a new guy named Pete Smith. He used to do the Pete Smith specialty movies, and here he is talking about trick bowling. I think you could take a page from this narration, Mike.
The average bowler practices the prescribed form that makes for good bowling. And when he makes a strike, he's a happy cookie. Ah, but no average bowler is Andy Verapapa. No, indeed. He's the champ. He's also the greatest bowling trickster of all time. And he likes to make strikes the hard way. See what I mean?
See what I mean, Mike?
Oh, I miss
Someday
those
you can be
days.
good as Pete Smith, and
I
that
miss
is
those
your
days.
magic audio ball. Have a great
That's it.
Tuesday, everybody.
We got to get on. Chuck Todd, who are your guests for Meet the Press this week? Do you have them all lined up already?
On a Tuesday? Never on a Tuesday.
Never. They do it at the last
No,
minute.
Tuesday is my Sunday. That's right. To be honest, this is,
Well,
I'm
I take that as an incredible compliment. You chose to join us on your slow day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Von Verbers, is there anything you would like to plug, my friend?
Just go to NBCnews.com. We got a lot of good things coming for the election, and we'd be happy to come back anytime.
Thank you very much,
nice
guys.
of you. Thank you.
Chuck
Careful
and
what you
Vaughn,
offer.
really. Thanks so much for joining us. That's it. We got to get out of here. For Oscar Santana and Rob Spiewak, Mike O'Mara saying so long, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Wait, don't go. I need to tell you that MikeO'MaraShow.com/Amazon is perfect for all your online shopping needs. Shop the best way. Shop Amazon. And please go through our website, always open at MikeO'MaraShow.com/Amazon.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Mike O'Mara, Radio Entertainment.